Welcome. Hi, this is Christine Crowell here, and thank you for coming to today's video. And today I really want to talk about how silver for May is going to really, I believe, is going to change. And for you silver stackers, as well as those of you that are collecting gold as well, gold stackers as well. So the bullion banks are running to the hills, literally, as monetary system is falling apart. Now, stackers, let's look at this, okay? So today we're going to be diving into something that is very, very special, that only a few people are aware of and talking about. So whilst everyone is panicking about the stock markets crashing, barely anyone really mentioning what's happening with gold and silver. Have you noticed this in the press? Have you noticed, are they talking about gold and silver? What's happening with gold and silver? We're hearing everything else apart from what is happening here with gold and silver. So gold and silver, they're raising to an amazing strength, but they're doing this quietly, daily. But sometimes they're getting knocked down, but they get back up again. And when I say knocked down, just by a few percentages, for example, not like how the crash in the stock market is, for example. And yet they keep rising, they keep standing the test of time. And that's the sign for you to really see that even when they're strong and under pressure, they still stand strong, for example. So what I'm going to be talking about today is I'm going to be talking about what no one is really talking about. So turn on any financial news network. You'll see it's all about stocks, inflation, rate hikes, for example, crashes. But where is the coverage to do with precious metals? There needs to be a news channel for that on, the financial network, news stations, for example. So gold and silver are behaving exactly how smart investors expect in times like these. They're resisting collapse. For example, they are holding their value and giving us repeated opportunities to stack. So silver in particular, for me, I just feel it's screaming to be noticed. But not many people are talking about this. So let's look at this. The gold to silver ratio just hit 100 to 1 again. It briefly went to 104, and it's sitting there like a warning flare. Literally, it's in your face. So the ratio means that it takes over 100 ounces of silver to buy 1 ounce of gold. Wow. That's historically out of balance, right? So let's look at this. So about 150 years ago, silver only touched the ratio a handful of times. This only happened a handful of times, literally. And each time it signaled a big shift. So silver has been, it's been lagged, and it's lagging behind gold. But that's the setup. The lag is how we can win as stackers. We need that right now. This is a classic risk reward. Silver offers much more upside potential than downside right now. The risk is small, but the reward is potentially massive. So like I said, the silver coin, $35 for example. So let's look at this depleting stock that we keep, well, some of us keep hearing about. Lima drainage as well. And let's talk about this. So silver investors, the Lima silver is the inventory, it is draining. So COMEX is showing weekly outflows. Physical supply is tight. They are taking like 8 weeks to deliver gold and silver directly. But there seems to be a secret party that is ordering all of this gold and silver, for example. We got the central banks, we got the reserves, for example, but there's another group of people or entities or organizations that are also ordering large sums. So silver stocks are at a major drawdown, for example. So week after week this is happening, and this isn't just noise, it is about the sound of demand outpacing supply. At some point the rubber band is going to just snap. I wish I had a rubber band right now just to give that metaphor. And let's look at this, what this setup looks like. So let's look at the mine. Now I've talked here about, in some of my videos, about the world's largest, wealthiest mines, for example. Now countries around the world are going literally to the mines directly to buy their silver, sludge, whatever they can get, grain, whatever, and they're delivering it back to their country and refining it. This is for a reason. Not going to be, why would they be going directly to mines to get this gold and silver, for example? So I talked about this before in my videos about mines around the world. Check out the links here, for example. The production, they're having issues with the production, for example, because the stocks are depleting. Globally, they're saying that the silver mines, for example, that they've only got like 20 years left. And this is because of the economics, but also energy cost, environmental controls, and politics. Silver is not just underpriced, it's underproduced. That combination is lethal long time, for example. So let me talk about the silver history and the Hunt brothers. Let's not forget that history gives us clues. Remember, I always talk about the pattern of history repeating itself. Now, you may not know about the Hunt brothers in 1980s, or maybe you do. They drove silver up to $50 per ounce by attempting to corner the market. That wasn't sustainable then, but it showed just how quickly silver can skyrocket when demand surges. So today, the conditions are different. So more grounded, for example, in real global demand and supply chains, for example, this chain pressure, we're seeing long-term wealth builders are entering silver now, not speculators, stackers like you, for example. Even the Silver Institute has reported that there's a growing gap between silver production and industrial and investment demand. So people are stacking. Like me and you, we're stacking, not just to hedge, but to build wealth. And not to, to be like the richest person, just to build wealth. So whether you purchase once a week, or every 2 weeks, or once a month, buy silver consistently. That's how you can build long-term wealth strategy, for example. For example, you can, purchase silver 1 month, $35, for example, and then gold another month. Split them up, for example. So let's talk about the opportunity here, for example. So the setup is that low price, high demand. There's media silence. Everyone seems to be like, shh, let's not talk about silver. Don't mention gold. And it's hysterical. The history behind this ratio, this imbalance. This is the kind of market we may not see again in our lifetime, for example. This is how this pattern is. It doesn't come round often. So silver is an opportunity of a generation. And I believe that this is your time. But only if you recognize it when it's quiet and still. So the price is still a massive discount. Silver, I'm referring to here. You can buy silver today for under $30. Look, I brought this, it is a collector's coin, bullion, silver. For example, 1 ounce. I purchased it for about $35. And it's worth about $60 and upwards dollars, for example. So just think about this. This opportunity. The price is at a discounted price right now, for example, for you to buy silver. I've got a link here which I'm an affiliate for if you want to purchase from a reputable dealer, but there's lots of dealers. There's SD Bullion, there's so many. There's your local dealers as well, which is where I went, to my local dealer, for example. Let's support our communities, for example, as well. I'm going to give you an example here which was said by Andy Checkman, for example. He said that if gold, because gold at the moment is, like $3,420, for example. If we divide that by 42, then that would mean that silver would be $81 for 1 ounce. Now let's go even further here, for example. If we was to divide gold 1 ounce costing $3,420, for example, divide that by 7, then that would make silver shoot up to like $488. That is a geological calculation that I'm giving you here, and this was from Andy Checkman. Okay, I wanted to mention that to you, but he believes that silver could quite easily be $80 to $90. He's an expert. I'm not an expert, and I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm just here talking to you as a woman who buys silver or is interested in stacking for wealth, for my retirement, a 5-10 year plan, for example. Because imagine that there's deliveries that people are ordering large amounts of gold and silver, for example, and the deliveries are taking 8 weeks to deliver physical gold and silver. Why is that? Countries around the world, for example, are literally going physically to these gold mines or silver mines and purchasing direct from the mines. They're taking their, raw material, the sludge, they're grabbing everything and they're having it shipped back to get it refined in their own country. Why would they do that? China did that to prove, according to the experts, that's what's happened here. So it's not just the governments, central banks. We've got COMEX, we've got the London reserves having to deliver to America gold and silver, but the wait for delivery, for physical delivery, is 8 weeks. That's quite a long time to wait for delivery. Minimum 8 weeks. It could even turn longer than that. We don't know, for example. So they are worried that there's not going to be enough to deliver to all of these organizations, the other organizations that are ordering. It could be family offices, it could be, organizations, I'm saying here. So why is everyone panicking to get this physical gold and silver? They don't want it in paper. They want it where they are. It's because they believe that gold is going to be the new monetary system. Donald Trump mentioned the other day on his social that he said a quote about gold. He who holds all the gold holds the cards, really. That's basically what he's saying. So is that a cryptic clue that gold is going to be the new monetary system? The treasuries are obviously probably thinking we need to get this gold and silver, because if it's going to be the new currency, and this is worldwide, not just America, it's worldwide. So if we're looking at this being the new monetary system, should we not, as people, stackers for example, start building our wealth through gold and silver? Now, whether you're in business or not in business, whatever funds you have available each month, for example, then why not purchase yourself some silver or gold and build your wealth that way, in a slow, controlled way, a compounding effect. Don't forget to download my free stacker. I've got a spreadsheet where it's a 10-year stacker. On that there is a 12-month stacker. I've also got video of how to fill out the stacker as well, because this is truly amazing. We're at a new point that is about to really change. Now, I mentioned about the geological rational, the ratio, for example, how I said that gold being at 3,420, for example, dividing that by 42, the ratio, the gold and silver ratio, for example, then that really, according to Andy Checkman, he stated that silver would be at $81 per ounce. So everyone's feeling this shift. These experts have been around a long time. Now, I only got interested in this in 2007, for example, and I used to buy gold scrap and silver scrap jewelry, for example. I would then me and my husband, we would turn them into gold and silver bars, for example, at a refinery. Now, Andy Checkman's been around for 35 years or more. He owns his own business, for example, and he studied gold and silver. And there's these patterns. It's about history repeating itself. And this pattern, they come not all the time. It is rare when it happens. And everyone is talking about, the experts that is, about how this is a rare opportunity, especially for silver, because silver is so low at the moment. It's undervalued. It is used for so many things, isn't it, silver? You've got the renewable energy, it's used for defense, for example. It is used for medical equipment. Silver it's used for AI. It's used for the AI chips. It's used for electronic vehicles. It's used for quite a lot of things, silver is. The demand is outweighing the supply. So something has to change here. And this is the right time for silver stackers to purchase, because I believe, and other experts have mentioned this, that in May we could be seeing silver at 50, because it is building strong. I mean, right now, and this is on SD Bullion, for example. I'm looking at their website. The gold spot price, for example, for gold today, it's at $3,351.95. And I will tell you about silver. So there's been a change of 1.23% in gold, for example, in one day. So it's gone up from what it was yesterday, for example. So now, if I go to silver, silver currently is at $33.68. It has gone down a bit from how it was yesterday, but only a small percentage. A very small percentage. But it's at 33.57, for example. So, it is doing well. Silver is doing well. They are stable. I think this was updated today, April the 24th at 2:24 p.m., for example. Okay, so silver is at that price at the moment. So can you imagine buying something. Andy Checkman says that he buys every 2 weeks. He buys a coin every 2 weeks. And he's been doing that for a long time. So I'm going to put the link here of Andy Checkman so that you can see for yourself, for example. But the price of gold is just, you know, it's at 3,351.57 cents, for example. You see, a year ago, we look at a year ago, gold was $2,316.34. So from a year ago, it's gone up by $1,000 per ounce. Imagine if you purchased that last year and you brought 12. You would have an extra 12,000, for example, on top of what you paid. And I'll just go to the silver. So a year ago, silver, $27.19, and it is now $33.57. But if we was to go back 10 years ago, like how I talk about the 10-year building your strategy, stacking for 10 years, for example, if that was 10 years ago, you would have doubled your money. So 10 years ago, silver was at $15.74, and it's now $33.57. Wow. Isn't that remarkable? And then imagine if you, 10 years on, the profit that you would have had on top of what you purchased your silver for. It's remarkable. I mean, let's look here, gold. I'm looking here. 10 years ago, yeah, you're doubling your money, basically. But you've got to have that strategy, and you've got to think of it as a long-term plan, like 5 years, 10 years, for example. Because let's look at it this way. You've got to look at this like, for me, I'm looking at it as a retirement fund, for example. Okay, so I'm saving for a retirement fund or a legacy, for example, for my children, for example, my loved ones, for example. And imagine 10 years, you've doubled your money. But you know something about this gold and silver. It's not just about the savings, it's about having this security. Having this security at your fingertips, for example. That is the key. And I believe, like I said, I believe that it's going to be $50 in May. From looking at the history and looking at the patterns, which I've been studying, for example, I'm seeing a history. I'm seeing a change. I'm seeing an increase. But yet no one is talking about it. Apart from on YouTube. But the press aren't talking about it. They're talking about doom and gloom. They're talking about, markets crashing. But there's this, which is, especially when they're talking about markets crashing, stock markets crashing, there's gold and silver that is increasing. There's stock mines. And like I said, I'm not a financial advisor. I am just an ordinary woman that is going to be 60 in a couple of months that really wants to look at stock building gold and silver, like how I did in 2007, many years ago, for example. This is I believe, the long-term plan, because it's not about having, like, being the richest person. It's not about that. It's about building security, and it's about building wealth. That's what that means to me. So that I'm leaving a legacy, and that when it comes time to my retirement, I will be able to know that even if my pension is at a reduced rate, which it probably will be because of the inflation, the way things are going, for example, I know that there will be that top up of the silver and the gold. Gold, I believe, is going to be the new monetary system. Let's face it, treasuries, they are really holding back on this, because it's going to become the new monetary system. We're going to be walking around with bags of gold and silver, like how it was in the old days before currency and cash was made available. Everybody had what? Gold and silver coins. They had it in a little bag, for example. You see those old movies, don't you, where they've got a bag and they put the coins on wherever, they're at a store, and even when if you play games online or whatever, there's always these coins, isn't there? That not really cash type of thing, is it? So the signs are here. The signs are here. But people are keeping it quiet because a lot of people don't want you to know about this. But it's time for us to wake up and to take advantage of this new way of building wealth. Because, at the end of the day, it's the only thing really that we can rely on. And like I said, if you've got a business, then you should be putting aside money each month, for example, and put that towards your business for a crisis fund. Just like if you're an everyday person going to work, you should be buying a silver coin, for example, gold coin, whatever it is you can afford, or a gram of gold or silver, starting off as small or as, whatever it is you can afford without you going out getting debt, for example. Because that's the worst thing to do, is to go out and get debt. Thank you. Because we shouldn't be, I don't think we'll be able to get much debt these days anyway, because of the way things are, inflation-wise. But at least, even if it's like $30, make a start, because that will be your encouragement to keep going. Because like for me, for example, when I got this, was my first coin, for example, and I got it because my logo is on there, which is on my watermark, for example. And it attracted me to this. This is why I got this in the first place, for example. That was my first one, for example. And when I brought it, $34, for example, when I checked it online, when I got home, it was worth $60 and more. So I was like, wow, something that I was drawn to, something that was telling me this is my legacy. It was a sign to say, get this one. It was calling me. It was saying, get this one. That's why I wanted to buy one coin, one silver coin, not a load of coins. I didn't want to keep buying the same type of coin in like a tube straight away as my first coin. This stood out to me. This coin is the one that stood out to me, which is a $1 ounce Australian dollar, that is, for example. See the back there? It is a bullion coin, mint, and there's only 15,000 of them available worldwide. I also got a certificate with it as well, which obviously gives it more value, doesn't it? But for me, that was my first one, but that is like my center, and the rest, as I build it, I'm still waiting for my coin box to arrive so I can start putting things in there, for example. But $35, even if you just buy one a month, whatever it is that you can afford, just buy it. Because imagine, right, me buying this for 35. I'm letting you see it because you can then check for yourself and tell me if what I saw was wrong. For example, $60 to even $199 is what I saw. I stopped looking in the end because I was just sort of like getting drawn into something, and I need to get on with work as well. But to me, I believe that silver is going to give you the most value, for example, as well, because a lot of people are starting to actually trade in their gold for silver. So you imagine you buy gold, which is good, don't get me wrong, it is good, right? You buy gold, and gold is going up. Some days it's going up, by 100, for example, $100 a day, for example. But imagine you buy silver, and silver has increased by that amount which I mentioned, say $50. Then Andy Checkman said it should be about $81, for example, and you spent $35 and you're getting like almost 3 times more than what you spent. Which one? I know you'd have to have a lot of ounces, because for 1 ounce of gold is 3,400, but to purchase silver and spend $3,400, for example, on silver, you'll end up with a lot of silver, for example. I like to see a lot of things anyway, tell you the truth, but that's just one of my things I was just mentioning to you. But imagine the profit margin is more with the silver. Although gold is going up, don't get me wrong, gold is very, very good. And if you can afford to get gold, then get gold. Buy both, for example. 1 month gold, 1 month silver. 1 month gold, 1 month silver. Or the 3rd month gold and the other 2 months silver. Whatever it is that you can afford. Or you save up and you buy, for example, on the 3rd month you could buy a 1/4 of an ounce of gold for $800, for example. There's lots of different ways that you can split the gold and silver that you've got, for example, or that you want to purchase. It's whatever you can afford. And that is the key, because you don't want to you're not buying gold and silver to put yourself into debt. You don't do that. You just buy what you can afford. Don't think of it as a greed thing. Think of it as a long term plan. Think of it as you're building wealth and you're getting stronger, and it's going to show 10 years later. Imagine if you brought 10 years ago, if you were buying gold and silver from 10 years ago, how much you would have ounce wise. It would be shocking, wouldn't it? You'd have your down payment for a house, for example. You would be able to, buy things that you didn't even think you'd be able to buy, but you really wouldn't want to trade it in until you need it. If you need like cash, for example, then you'd use your gold coin, for example, to be able to buy things with. And I don't mean to be doom and gloom, but we don't know if things could become that way at some point, for example, because the tariffs has caused a lot of uncertainty worldwide, for example. So we have to take control and be in a way that we feel that is comfortable for us to purchase silver if that's what you can afford, or purchase gold if that's what you can afford. Some people are buying a gram of gold. Some people are buying a quarter of an ounce of gold. Some people are buying silver. Silver stackers, gold stackers. Buy both. That's what I would say. So I wanted to share this with you because people are keeping it quiet. We have got so much opportunity here that we can really look at making it and taking it to a whole new level, because the banks, the bullion banks, they are like worried. They're worried that the monetary system that we have, the cash, is falling apart. And I'm sure that you would agree with how you're seeing the currency at the moment, for example. So this is why the treasuries, the bullion banks, the family offices, the businesses, for example, the billionaires, the millionaires, the everyday persons like us, for example, are buying gold and silver. And they're buying it. Some are buying it in mass. I mean, truckloads. Not like us buying like 1 ounce coin, for example. They're buying it by the tons, where it has to be delivered in a truck, for example, or put on a plane. That tells you something, that they're preparing for the new monetary system, because gold and silver will hold its price. Whereas with the dollar is going down in value. Every year it's going down in value. And we're seeing that when we're purchasing things. Whereas with gold and silver is holding its price. So if you can, purchase a silver coin, for example, or purchase a gold coin. If you can, purchase a bar, a silver bar, or a gold coin, for example, or a gold bar, for example. But one thing I will tell you, when I was doing, in 2007, when I was doing the scrap gold parties, for example, I was purchasing gold and silver 30% less than what the spot price was back then. So there's another way that you can do it. You can purchase scrap gold and silver, get it to the right weight that you want it to, a kilo, for example, and or just have it turned into a gold or silver bar. And you haven't paid the spot price, you paid 30% less than what the spot price is. And then when you've got enough, you take it to a refinery and they will smelt it down. They will melt the gold or silver down, and you'll get gold bars or or silver bars. You'll have it, certificate and stamped and everything. Now, isn't that a good way to do things? Yes, it's good to buy, brand new, for example, but at the end of the day, when things are melted down, it doesn't matter whether it's old or new, gold and silver is still the same. It doesn't change. It's still valuable. So imagine that you're buying scrap gold or scrap silver on a monthly basis. There's eBay. You can get people to host a gold or silver party for you, which is what used to happen back in 2007, for example. Sometimes it's good to go back to basics. Do a bit of that. Buy brand new, buy off of eBay, then you're building your wealth. And imagine you're getting it 30% less because you're buying it scrap. For example, you can build your own vault. You can build your own silver and gold vault. You just got to be strategic in what you're doing, for example. Now, in my description, there's some links there for you to download. I'm going to put that here actually. There's a link for you to download some of the stackers, and I'm just going to copy and paste into the chat here. You can purchase from a dealer here, which is JM Bullion, which is quite a big one. For example, I think I put too much in here. You can't cope with it. Okay, let me do it smaller. Let's put the link here. I'll put the stacker in here. Try that one. Didn't let me do it. See if it lets me do that. Yes. Okay, let's try that again. I'm going to see if I can pin the comment. Not sure why it's not letting me put the link in the chat, which is strange. I'll have to put it here. Let me just try that again. Try that again. You think it would let me do it? Strange. It's not allowing me to. Maybe the link is too much. I'll try it again. I know what, if I take out I'll just put the link in, see if that works. Let's put the link here without the ticks here. They say no emojis found. I don't know why that is, but there you go. It's not even allowing me to even post in the chat for some reason. But I will put it in the comment section of this video, so do bear with me. But it is also there in the description, so you'll be able to check that out as well. I'm not sure why that didn't go through, but I suppose I will find out. So thank you for being here today, and I just want to say to everyone, I appreciate you spending the time being here with me today and taking time out of your busy day. And do like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. If you've enjoyed the video today, if you only just come in, perhaps listen to the video from the beginning, and just so that you listening to, you know, from start to finish, for example. But I also want to say I do appreciate your comments, and you know, we're going to be doing a live on Saturday, which is going to be 8 p.m. EST time, for example, and that's going to be questions and answers regarding gold and silver, for example, building your wealth, for example. And I just want to say thank you so much to everyone, and let's build our silver and gold stacking together. Let's grow, because the signs are here, the signals are here for us to grow, and I hope that you'll be able to do so. And I'm sure some of you are doing this already, which is amazing, and some of you have been doing it for 10 years or more, which is truly amazing. But imagine you do this and then you can put money down on a house, for example. It's remarkable. So thank you so much, everyone, and I hope you've enjoyed today, and I look forward to speaking with you tomorrow. I'll be going live here at the same time, but on Saturday I'm doing later, so it will be 8 p.m. EST time, USA. All right, so thank you so much, and I look forward to speaking with you all soon. Thank you. Take care. Bye.